Hello, Jefi. How are you?
Hello, Ed. I'm well. How are you?
Well, I am fantastic. It is
That sounded
cold.
very,
It is
it is not
cold.
cold here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
28 degrees this morning. And it's fall. What you kind of expect that? So it's a little chilly, but we're rocking and rolling. Yeah, you're in
You
San
definitely
Diego.
expect
It's
some,
70
it's
degrees.
like this.
No.
It's like oh, we had a little dip. Oh, a degree. It was 70 today instead of
Yes.
75.
We have a
Yeah,
heat
I'm
wave in
complaining.
San Diego. It's 72 degrees.
I
So,
know.
yeah.
It's ridiculous, but it's cool. I like riding my bike.
That's awesome. Well, I like
I know.
riding my bike, but like I'm fully kitted up to not freeze to death. But that's a whole nother story. But I'm sure you all would love to hear about our exercise regimes and weather. But we're here to talk about
Not
something
really.
else. Not really. Which this is episode 4, and we're
Uh-huh.
calling it "The Perils of Overpricing Listings: From Hero
Yes.
to
To
Zero."
zero.
To zero, or that 80s movie Less Than Zero. Just-
Yeah, it's bad. It's
it's
really bad. And it's cool. I'm glad we're breaking this down because when you brought up the idea, I thought, oh, God, it's kind of boring and technical and whatever. And I kind of like wild, airy, fairy stuff. So, but once you really listed all this stuff out, I was like, he is on to something here. So let's do this.
let's do it. And
Okay.
part of it is, one of the things I joke around is like comps. So
Hmm.
2020, so
I know.
2020. It's really,
Right.
really hard in this market when
Yeah.
things are ripping up in price. In our market, average, median home price went up 20% this year.
Hmm.
Um,
We're
I
really
don't,
close. I think we're at 16.
Yeah, and you probably had a quicker
Yeah.
run up. We come in late and finish higher. Usually, was what happens
Yeah.
in North Carolina. We're a little slow in the South sometimes, so that
I
happens.
also think it's because you guys have weather. So I feel like anybody who has weather that dictates movement, you'll see these spurts where we just kind of have this steady incline because the only time we don't have a lot of business going is the week of Thanksgiving, the week of Christmas, and when people graduate. That's it. Every other time, because it's not like you can't get in your car and drive because it's snowing.
Yeah, yeah,
People are
and
scared of the rain here, but that's
yeah,
about
I've
it.
seen that. I remember those days. But yeah, it's true. Like when we get snow, everything shuts down. Because we don't get a lot
Right.
of it in the South, and when we do, it's like it's a holiday, which is awesome. But
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
business is getting done. So
Yeah, that's
so
true.
um, so anyway, the way we're all thinking about this is that when you're in a rapidly rising market, how do you keep from overpricing a listing? And maybe,
Hmm.
more importantly, how do you
Hmm.
educate the seller on how to develop what we think is a winning strategy that
Sure.
doesn't involve a high list price? So
Right.
how do you technically go about that, and how do you present that? That's what we're
Hmm.
going to dig into today. So
Yeah.
so go ahead, Jeff.
And it's interesting because when we were talking about this originally, I live in an area that you can't go, oh, my neighbor's house sold for 1 million, so mine's going to sell for 1,050,000 because we don't live in a track area. Every house is, you know, well, there's some tracks like 5 houses in a row, but most of the houses around me were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they're all completely unique. So when I go in and I'm meeting with a client and they're like, oh, yeah, my house is going to sell for, XYZ price per square foot, I always look at them and go, yeah, not here, buddy. That's price per square foot means nothing to anybody around here because of this bell curve. You can have a 900 square foot house that sold for, $1 million. It's whatever price per square foot, $600, $700 per square foot. And then you've got the neighbor who's selling for $350 a square foot. So those not only are comps so 2020, but for me, so is price per square foot. So you really have to dig in and find out, okay, what's somebody willing to spend here? And we're going to talk about that a little bit down the road of how I go through and do that, which I find works very, very well. But um, it's good to talk to your sellers. You'll go into that a little bit on expectation, but I always ask my sellers, what do you think your home's going to sell for? And I've had some pushback. Some of my sellers say, well, that's why I'm hiring you. You tell me what it's going to sell for. And then my famous line is, well, unfortunately, you and I don't get to decide what your home's going to sell for. The buyer does. The buyer's going to tell you what your home's worth. They might say it's worth less than you think, and they might say it's worth more, but you don't, you can have a general idea, but that's about it, at least in this market.
Yeah, that's really tricky. When you push that one, it's like, well, what do you think? You do tend to get that pushback, and I like how you
That like,
respond to that. One of
yeah,
the things I do when I'm going in and prepping is I always look at Zillow when I'm kind of done with
yep,
my numbers, because I
yeah,
know they're looking at Zillow, and I want to. That's probably the number that they're thinking about.
mm-hmm.
When you ask that question, right? I quite often go, well, I was. They'll say, well, I was out on Zillow, and it says it's worth this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I like to
So
know that ahead of time of where that, and that's probably not that revolutionary a concept, but it's good. It's good as
it's
kind of a
good.
gut check to kind of know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And to be in tune with what your client's thinking too. Um, I always walk through my philosophy of pricing with my clients. And again, I think when you're innovative and you are not the norm for a market, which I kind of feel like that's my niche, I definitely am always kind of pushing the envelope on things. Um, I always talk to them about, if you have your house and you have your neighbor's house, if your house is slightly undervalued for what you think it's going to sell for, you'll have way more foot traffic. The more foot traffic you have, the more offers you get. The more offers you get, the better pricing you're going to get, because then you can leverage those buyers against each other to get the highest and best price. And not only that, but you also get, what if you want to choose an all cash buyer that's the same purchase price as a loan? It makes a lot more sense. But when you're talking to these sellers, they're thinking, I can't believe this lady's telling me to list my house, $40,000 less than I think it should sell for. So it's the hurdle of getting them to get on board,
right.
which my normal response is, you don't have to sell your house. If you're not in contract, you can take your house off the market and be like, I changed my mind. The second you agree to a price is when you're committed. But it's getting them to understand that. And that's still to this right now. And I this is my philosophy, and it has been for years. It's still hard to get people on board sometimes.
Yeah, it is. So I want to go a little bit deeper on that. So you come
Okay.
in and you're saying, kind of walk me through it. I'm Mr.
Okay.
Seller. And so what do you kind of say, and how do you position this philosophy?
Okay. So I do an ABC. I'm uh, going through and I label homes. So I look at everything. So I'll pull up comps in the area and I will start super tight. So I'll do same bedrooms, same bathrooms, 400 square feet bigger or smaller. And then I print out the CMA, and then I literally give it an A, B, or a C. And if I've seen the house, then I'll do a plus, an equal, or a minus, just to keep my head wrapped around what's going on. I save that search so that I can have it with me when I go on my listing appointment. And when I'm talking to the seller and the seller says, well, I think my home is worth 1.3 million, I'll say, okay, let's take a look. So here are the homes that are selling for 1.3 million or who have sold for 1.3 million. Do you feel your home is equal to, better than, or less than this home? And usually after 2 or 3 comps of looking, they're completely on board. So, and this is definitely the showing of the comps came from Joe, my business partner. He is so good at that kind of stuff. So I took his lead and we've just run with that over the years. But that is very powerful.
Yeah, when you introduced that concept to me, I really like that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
because you're chunking them, and I historically haven't done it
Yeah.
that way. All like,
Yeah.
I'll have a detailed spreadsheet that I used, and it
Mm-hmm.
balances everything out and drives to a number,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of in a different category of feature. And so I think it's really
Sure.
smart to kind of back it down a little bit and say, well, we got to compare apples to apples. So, is
Mm-hmm.
yours better than, equal to, or less than this? Oh, okay. And then start
Right. Yeah.
shoving them around and building the piles. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and
Um,
it
Go
definitely is powerful when your seller is looking at those, because you're sitting in their living room or their kitchen and they're looking at a fully redone home that's, top to bottom, everything done. And then their house is still the 1960s kitchen, plus everything else is still 1960s, but they want the same price. Now they're kind of like, well, I guess I haven't seen that before. So you're right. That is in alignment with the pricing that we're going for.
Yeah. No, that's really, really cool. Well, I'd like to chat a little bit about what we talked about how you kind of communicate this and set it up, at least the technique I've been using a bit, which has worked pretty well. So, as you know, I'm a big fan of Chris Voss's "Never Split the Difference" negotiations, and
you got me hooked on that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in more detail in other episodes. But first of all, I recommend everybody should read that book. Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss. And I'm actually in his real estate negotiating course. It's been a year-long course. And it's been fantastic. But one of the things he talks about is doing accusation audits. And you do it up front. And what an accusation audit is everything they're thinking about you bring up on the front end. Because they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so, at first time I heard that, I'm like, isn't that kind of creating an objection? Do I really want to do that? And you do, because it's addressing it up front. So in this case, like I did this twice last weekend on new listings. I'm like, what I'm going to tell you is going to sound crazy. I love that. This is, and there's a delivery thing with this too. And again, we'll get in it, but it's the late night FM DJ voice, and it's fusing pauses. And so it's like, you're going to think I'm trying to just get an easy sale. You're going to think all I care about is my commission, and I just want to get in and out of here. And you start listing these things out, and they'll stop you at some point. But it's like,
I'm like, no, I don't think that. No. Yeah.
It's like, but I said, here's the deal. What we've found is most effective for you getting the highest price is that we're going to bring the house in slightly under market. And we're going to create a buzz. We're going to get people frothy in a fever. We're going to get multiple offers, and you're going to have the pick of the litter.
Ooh, you could list my house, buddy.
That's right. So, but the tendency is, and there are agents, then you go flip side on this. Believe it or not, there are agents out there that'll promise you the moon. They're going to make you fall in love with a high number just to get you to sign the paper. I'm not one of those agents. There's plenty of people you can go to for that. That's not me.
Yeah, that's great.
Because what happens is you're going to do that, and then it's not going to work. And in this market, you got about a week before they start sharpening the knives. And guys like me who are representing buyers are going to make you pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the talk track.
And it's simple, isn't it? And that book, because Ed turned me on to Never Split the Difference, and I love it. Definitely tried it on my husband. That did not go very well. So
no.
don't try it on loved ones. No. Definitely keep it to the general public. But there are some great negotiating tools in there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one of the things that when you were talking about listings staying on too long, do you talk to your sellers about what happens when listings stay on too long? Or do you want to dive into a little bit about what sellers do once things aren't going the way they wanted it to go when you accept a higher list price that's not working?
Oh yeah. So what's the effect of when you take the overpriced listing? And let's be upfront and honest. I've done it. I'm sure, Jefi, I'm sure you've done it. It happens. I
think we all do it. We do, because it's not a perfect science. And one of the things that just first comes to my brain, I know I asked you the question, but the buzz is gone. This beautiful buzz that kind of builds up, and it's a new house and no one's been in it, and there's not enough homes on the market, and they're excited, and all of a sudden it's like a big fat flopper.
Yeah, So I think that's definitely it. So, one of the key things, buzz is gone when you
Yeah.
overprice. And you and I have been doing this long enough. I think the market's gotten a
Yep.
lot more efficient. So
I think so too.
you used to have a lot more time to let the market, go through the properties.
Hmm.
And now, the first showings happen online from what they're seeing on whatever their
Right.
search du jour is.
Yeah.
And you don't get a lot of time. And especially in a super
Hmm.
hot market where everybody's expectation is, oh, it sells really fast. You know,
Hmm.
I was fortunate this year. I sold all of my listings on the first weekend, but they were all
Yeah, that's
priced.
amazing.
But they were all, we used this strategy, right? And they all sold for
Right.
over. And,
Right.
it worked. But I know when I'm shopping for buyers now,
Hmm.
I have a different offer strategy if it's been on the market more than a week,
Yeah.
which is kind of
It's
crazy.
it is kind of crazy because there's a flip side to that, and I think it's important to talk about this too, because we know that we have this whole buyer pool sitting out there with bated breath waiting for these properties to come on the market. So that's usually why we sell them within the first 3 to 5 days, right?
Hmm.
The thing is that what I have noticed here in San Diego is that at about day 4, when I'm starting to process all the offers and get everything organized, I have a whole fresh group of people coming through that are probably just qualified, just ready to go, just pouncing on things. And sometimes those end up being the better buyers because of their loan structures or whatever they have going on. So it's almost like I wonder what would happen if we as a collective within our community said every house is staying on the market for 6 days or 7 days, no matter what, so that our sellers would have a bigger pool of people looking at it. The problem is that if you're the only one that's doing that and a buyer's getting nervous, they're going to put out multiple offers on different properties. And then you're going to end up accepting an offer when someone's not even interested anymore, because our buyers are trained right now to know that they have to move within 48 hours.
Well, it's funny. I do kind of do that now. So on all my listings, I list on a Thursday. So if, I
Yeah.
can have coming soon, but then actually get into the home on a Thursday, and I put right
Hmm.
up front all offers due 3 o'clock on Monday. That Monday,
Okay. All
and
right.
then if by chance it doesn't sell, then I just wipe that out. I didn't have that happen this year, but I like
Hmm.
doing it that way because you get a bigger pool,
That's
and
true. People are
and
more motivated to get in there.
And I find that buyers agents really appreciate it because they're not practicing emergency real estate then, and they can plan their showing.
Yeah.
But you got to educate the seller. It's like, look, if you say this, you cannot accept that really great offer that comes in on day one and they put an
Yeah.
expiration on it because, you're responding to bully tactics, and that's going to come back.
Hmm.
So
Agreed.
you gotta like draw the line. And then two, for me, I'm like, it's my reputation. I'm not going to let you do that. It's like we
Hmm.
have to agree up front. If you want to set a deadline,
Sure.
you got to live by the deadline.
Okay, I know this is off topic for what we're talking about here for pricing, but I think this is important to talk about. When I have a buyer who's approved to a certain number, I have a buyer for 850, and I see a house and it's listed for 8, and I call the agent and I say, "Hey, do you have offers over 850?" and they will not tell me. That bugs the holy bejesus out of me, because now I'm wasting my buyer's time, my time writing an offer, doing these things, getting them excited about something. And let's say that they're at 900, which is totally par for the course right now. It is easy to find properties that were listed at one number and sold for 100,000 over.
Yeah.
So do you, on the East Coast, do you answer that question honestly if an agent calls and asks it?
I would answer. Well, it depends on the agent. It depends
Okay.
who's
Yeah.
asking the question. So there's
Yeah.
some agents that won't do it
Relationships.
in
Hmm.
relationships. And if somebody calls me and I've got a long relationship with them, I would say you're wasting your time, or it would be worth it
Yeah.
to submit that.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't you
and
think, though, that that would be good to do with every agent so that it saves the time and energy? And even like, think about it. If you have an owner occupied property and you have agents coming in that literally there's no way their buyer could ever get to the price that you already have an offer for, why would you put yourself, the buyer's agent, your seller, and the buyer through that? Why would you be choosy?
yeah, it's just we're all in uncharted territory right now, and I think
I
everybody
know.
has certain ways they want to play it and deal with it.
Sure.
And I try and smoke that out a little bit beforehand, but
Hmm.
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And you'll get well, just submit your highest and best, and it's like, okay, and then,
I know.
but the other way to get that answer is try to get them to say how many offers. Do you have multiple offers on the table? Do you have an
Yes.
offer on the table? Do you have multiple offers?
Yeah.
Well, if you got
Yeah.
multiple, they're telling everybody else they got multiple. So it's going to be in a bidding war. And
Hmm.
you can also look at showing time and see like how booked it is.
That's true.
You
If they
there's
use
things you
showing
can
time,
do to
yeah.
sniff it out.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. And I guess, and honestly, for this in the seller's best interest, you want multiple offers. So if you didn't have multiple offers, I know I don't. I'm not as specific at that point because I want there to be multiple offers. So my highest and best offer feels motivated to go higher.
you could also, I'm just thinking this through, you could use a Voss technique of maybe a different accusation on that. So you'd say, uh, we're willing to go up to 800, but I don't want to waste your time, so we're not going to submit that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put
And now they're going to say, "Well,
put it back
submit
on
it,"
them.
and that tells
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
That might be a way to get the
I'm
answer.
writing that one down. Voss technique.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
so
good. All
that
right, well,
might
let's
be
get back
another.
on track.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a deep dive worth taking. So,
Yeah.
so
You were
buzz
going to
is
talk
gone,
about costly.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
overpriced listings, they're soul sucking. They're
Yeah.
just costly. So they're costly in time, money,
Energy.
but most important, your energy.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a real
Yeah.
reason not to do it. I mean,
Yeah. I
if you
agree.
know in your heart it's overpriced, it never ends well. And
No, it doesn't. You end up being a stinky fish.
yeah, yeah,
um, one of the big things you and I chatted about was the fact that when you have an overpriced listing, when you have to make those arduous phone calls to that seller, when there's nothing new to tell them. Nobody's been in the house. Nobody's been giving you feedback. It's overpriced. And so, hi, Ed, it's Jefi. I'm just calling to let you know we haven't had any activity this week. I mean, I hate those calls.
yeah. They're like,
I hate those calls so much. I'd rather never take an overpriced listing.
yeah. You say like, "Hi, it's Jefi," and they're like, "Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. And then
Did you sell my house?
Yeah. Did you sell my house yet? What's going on? In turn, you and I work, and Buffini agents and a lot of people in general, but work by referral. How hard is it going to be to get a referral from someone that's disappointed from the very beginning? Because there wasn't an honest talk track about what is going on with their home and what it's worth. And so you're working for pain for however long it takes to sell this property. Even if you do get the price reduction, even if you do get it into escrow, and even if you do close it, that seller's irritated with you. They're never going to send you somebody. They're not excited. So
Right.
why do we do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are
I know there
100%.
are some exceptions, and I would love it if you talk about it because I think you have some really good exceptions.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think what you just said is really, really important.
Yeah.
In that, we do the majority of our business by referral. Most people listening to this same, and they don't generate referrals. So it's like a dead end street. And, they're not going to blame themselves. They're going to blame you. And so,
yeah.
and
they're not stinky. You are.
Right. It's your fault. And so, and in a way it kind of is because you took it. Right. So,
yeah.
Now that being said, we're realistic. We're realists. We're in the trenches here. And like, okay, that briefs well, but you haven't had a listing in 3 months and you get an opportunity and you're tempted to take it. And because it's a rising market and you're not sure, right? So maybe it isn't, maybe you're off. So how do you handle that? And I think there's a couple techniques we'd like to talk about. One of which is, you just got to build it into the marketing plan up front. So if you're going to do it, I think it's really smart to pre-write in the reduction into your listing agreement. So put it in writing.
Yeah.
And I Do you do that? Have you done that?
I do. I
Yeah.
do it a lot. And I do it when, number one, it's a property that's in my farm that I know like inside and out. I know tons of homes that I've sold in that area. And I would really like that listing to come to me instead of somebody else. But there is definitely an automatic price reduction at X days. And I usually base it around activity. So if an average home is selling in 6 days and you don't even have a showing in 6 days, your first price reductions on day 6.
Right.
So I tie it into something that means something to the seller and to me.
That's a really smart way to do it. Say, well, this is average days on market. And so
Yeah.
we're going to, we've missed, it's worth a shot, but we're going to commit to it. And the reason I think it's really important is if you allow it to the emotions of the moment, there's always a reason not to cut that when it's time. And
100%.
1 week becomes 30 days very quickly.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah. A lot of money and anxiety.
Yeah. The other option, if your MLS allows it, is to take it as an office exclusive for a period of time to test the waters at a price to where it's not seen in the MLS and in Zillow, so that you're not damaged by it. And I actually, on both of my last listing appointments, I said, well, let's come up with a make me move number. Is there a price that works for you in excess?
I like that.
And can I market that exclusively in my office, which is also like with my buyer's agent, I got a whole list of potential buyers, right? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. We're happy to do that.
Yeah.
So,
which gives you a lot of good feedback too.
Right.
Ton of good feedback. So that's a really good one.
So I think that kind of hits the high points, but we wanted to end with maybe a story. Like, tell me a pricing nightmare you had. When did you take an overpriced listing, and how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, exactly. So just like Ed and I said earlier, we're just like all of you. We're just out there pounding the pavement and doing our best. And the whole reason we decided to do this podcast is because it synergizes. It helps us be better at our jobs, but it's the kind of stuff that we'd love to hear from other people as well. So that's why we love feedback. But my business partner Joe and I keep saying my business partner Joe because I'm afraid that if I just say Joe, nobody's gonna know who I'm talking about. It's
good.
Joe.
Good protocol.
Joe. Okay, good. Anyway, we had a sign call on one of our listings in an area that it's a really beautiful area of Mount Helix. And we went to the listing, and I could tell from the very moment that I walked through the door when I met Mr. Seller that he just had, you could just feel it. Those attitudes you can feel, and you're just like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do here. But then my personality is always like, where I'm going to find my angle. I'm going to find my way into this guy. I'm going to figure it out. But no, that did not happen. Anyway, I had everything that we just talked about. I had all my ABC comps. I had, Joe had his computer with us. We had the search already set up so we could show things. The house really was just at like probably $1,050,000. And this is a few years back. Now it'd be worth way more, but it's about $1,050,000. He wanted $1.3 million. He was adamant that his home was worth 1.3. And so because he had that kind of personality that you go, God, I'm wrong. There's no way that he can be so sure of this. And now he's starting to make me and Joe doubt ourselves. So we decided, okay, we'll do this. Well, it's a massive home. It's like a 5,000 square foot home. So we did twilight photos, and we did day photos, and we did a massive party at the house as a showing for a bunch of agents in the area. And I think we were into it about $5,000. Okay. So $5,000 for an overpriced listing with a jackass seller who did not give a rat's butt about either Joe or I. And so it was just like, check the boxes of bullshit. Like, excuse my language. I was just like, what are we doing? It's kind of like he hypnotized us. Give me your money. I'm going to get you to do this.
Yes, I've had that. Yes.
It was terrible. And then the weekly calls, well, actually, I call my clients 2 times a week. I call my sellers on Monday and Thursday, and I call my buyers on Tuesdays and Fridays. So I would look at Joe and I go, dude, can you call him this? Can you call him this time? And he's like, nope, I'm not calling him.
You're flipping a
You're
coin.
the lead.
Who's it
Yeah,
gonna be?
exactly.
Rochambeau.
But it was, right. It was gut-wrenching every single time. And I can honestly say that when we called him and said, I think you should take it off the market and list with someone else, I can give you a referral, I can do, whatever you need. I had the biggest feeling of relief. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be done with this. And the guy's never given us a referral. We're in the negative. He would never list with us again, even though we know what we're doing. Our photos were insane. The party was insane. He just didn't sell because he was overpriced.
It's the price.
Full stop.
It's the price.
So anyway,
it's the price. I got to ask, how did that go? A full 6 months? How long did that go?
No, I think we stopped it at 4 months, and it was just mostly because first of all, Joe wouldn't call him. And secondly, I just didn't have it in me anymore to do it. And it just was getting stinkier and stinkier and stinkier. So I'm like, done.
Yeah. It's like, it's not you, it's me. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's not you, it's me.
Well, one of the things, and I can't remember if this is a Buffiniism or Joe Nigo said it, but I heard somewhere along the line, your goal is to sell the home before they hate you. And every day it's on the market, they hate you a little bit more.
They hate you more.
They hate you a little bit more. So
was that a little timer?
That was a little timer because we're trying to keep at 30. So so that's kind of right at the wrap point.
That's a wrap point, and my computer's about to die too. So
cool.
Plus, I think our audience is probably over us at this point.
I find that hard to believe. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Again, mess in the middle. I'm at Billings down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
And I'm Jefi Moultrie in San Diego, California.
And we will see you at the next episode. Take care, y'all.
Yes, we will. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.